Hi, everybody. We've been noticing that in Platinum Planner, there's some clinical documentation that's missing, which has been consistent across your entire cohort. So I just wanted to come back to Platinum and show you some things that have been missing that you need to add every time that you have a patient contact. So I'm logged in as one of you. When you're adding in your patient contacts, make sure that you're also including an age. In Platinum, if you don't have the age, then certain skills are not going to show up. So even if you don't know the age, just give it your best guess. Even if it's in 5 to 10 years, that's fine. Um, and the other thing too is mostly what we're seeing that's missing are skills requirements. So when you're adding in your skills, don't forget to look under everything that could possibly apply to your patient. So, for example, let's just say that you're in the ER and I selected here a 35-year-old male patient that comes in with abdominal pain. Make sure everyone's been doing pretty good about patient notes, so please continue that. That's been looking great. But under skills, you should be able to include things starting with assessment of an adult. And if you did any type of assessment, make sure you mark it as successful. The other thing you should be able to then include is, let's say, abdominal pain, success. And take a really good look at the patient's medical history. If they have any type of psychiatric history or you go through any type of psych questions, which is standard for any ER visit, you could also include assessment of psych. Other things that you can include is if you do any medical assessment on your patient and do a 12 lead or listen to heart tones, you could scroll all the way to the bottom and include a medical assessment, including cardiac physical assessment. You can have that skill that's also attached. Let's just say this patient is 67 years old and they come in and they're also slightly altered. Well, go ahead and throw an altered mental status in there as well. So as you're looking through here, make sure that everything that could possibly apply to your patient, you're selecting. You don't ever have to pick just one. You can always pick more than one. So you could have a hypoglycemic that also has respiratory distress. Or if they're septic, they're also going to be in shock. So you could choose both of those. Overdose, you could have several of these that you could apply that to. And then as you're going through your skills, anything that would apply, make sure that you select all of these. My suspicion is that when Platinum recently changed how they present your clinical requirements, that some of these things are now getting missed because you think that you've met those competencies, but you might not have. So because this is someone's actual opportunity, let me delete this one here quick. And I'm going to show you your reports. So this past week, we found out in reports that now Platinum has separated scenario from clinical from lab. So in the past, you've mostly been looking at your lab skills, which you see here, and that used to present all of your lab and all of your clinical, but now they've actually separated that. So if you're wanting to get a progress report on how you're doing on your clinicals, you actually need to select clinical and run that report to make sure that you're meeting all the required competencies. So when you run that report, notice here how it says clinical skills progress. This is where we're seeing a lot of things missing because there's assessments that have been done, they just haven't been documented. So these things here are going to need to get filled in. Now, some of them you're not going to be able to fill in. Like you probably haven't seen too many. Well, if you're doing ER time, you should see psychiatric patients, but maybe you haven't seen a lot of neonates or hitting every age each category of pediatrics. That's okay. We are going to work on that. And actually, some of the scenarios that you did in class will count for clinicals. Like, for example, look at this defibrillation on witness arrest. COA requires that you should have seen that 10 times. Well, what they mean is either 10 times in a clinical or a simulated scenario. So all the scenarios that you did in ACLS and PALS would count for that. The thing is that we have to enter those scenarios in. So as you're running your reports, please don't panic. I'm going to say that again. Please do not panic. There are things that we need to add in here that you had done for scenarios, and we will get that done here relatively soon. So take a look at this. It's more of just a reminder to make sure that you're documenting everything you possibly can during your clinical time, and especially a lot of these skills too. So if you've been doing IVs, if you've been getting 12 leads, make sure you're putting all of that in there because it's going to save us time when we're completing your reports at the end of the program. And we're also going to change some settings so you can continue to document these things during your internship. So just something I wanted to make you aware of. Please take a look at your reports, see where it is that you're at, and continue to document what you can during your clinical time. Okay, thanks. If you have any questions, let me know.